and welcome to this presentation of the Cathedral Combat level. My name is Claudia Sjöbeck and I'm a level designer. In this video, I'd like to talk about the level flow, pacing, and some of the game mechanics. For issues and how I solve them, there's a section further down on this page where I'll elaborate more on those. This level takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where humanity has divided itself into different clans, or fractions if you will, competing for survival. The level would take place early to mid-game and serves as a preparation for another, bigger mission later on. The player's main objective is to reach the clock tower, then fire a flare in order for our allies who are performing a task at another place to know when to go. And of course, not everything goes as planned. The cliffside. The player arrives to the level by boat, and after some quick instructions from our buddy, we are ready to go. In this part of the level, I wanted to introduce the climbing mechanic as well as establishing the long-term goal in a calm, controlled environment. I made sure the clock tower is framed several times in the intro, for example in the introductory cutscene and also here while climbing on top of this cliff. The graveyard. Soon, players will reach the graveyard where they will first notice the enemy. In this case, the enemy is a bunch of hostile smugglers carrying explosive goods. The player is aware of the enemy presence when starting the level. However, they have probably underestimated the actual prevalence of them. By crouching in the bushes, players can navigate safely across the graveyard. If they choose the secondary route, they may get a hint of what's on the other side of the wall and some pickups containing health or ammo. The tension is rising, but only a little. Into the cathedral. After the player have safely made it across the courtyard, they can enter the church and have a moment of respite to take in the environment. I wanted to lure them towards the obvious goal, which should be entering the tower for easy access to the clock tower, and so I used motion, lighting, and framing in order for that to happen. However, things are never that easy, are they? Instead, when they turn around, they will notice this huge tree, big enough to reach the second floor and obviously perfect for climbing, which we just learned. Traversing the cathedral. On reaching the second floor, players can choose 2 different ways to reach the other end, where a broken window will lead them out to some scaffolding. Here, I'm introducing a pushing block mechanic, and the players will use this to reach new heights, eventually leading them up on the roof. Traversing across the roof, players will soon reach the clock tower where they will first have to get close in order to take out another god. This is a quick high-tension moment before they are rewarded with weapons. Next, they will fire the flare, thus fulfilling their main objective. This will of course trigger aggression from the enemy, and the player will hear them approaching below with barks and movement. The main goal now changes to making it out alive. After moving down a bit, players can try out their new weapons by firing at the enemy, or better, firing at the chandeliers and let it drop down onto the enemy. Players will then move downwards in the crumbling tower, jumping and climbing, and then, for the first time, trigger these exploding barrels themselves. Church Shootout. Players are now back where they started in the cathedral, coming out from the very door they tried to enter earlier. This will trigger the first proper shootout in the level. If the player has shot down a few enemies from their previous vantage point by the chandeliers, an enemy spawner will have spawned more enemies by now, so as to not miss the action here. Approaching the exit, players are hopefully lulled into a false sense of security. This is where I wanted to plant the gap, meaning that the player's expectations does not correspond to the actual result. A cutscene will be triggered where a barrel explodes and the player tumbles down into the church catacombs. Starting on a clean slate, players will again have to orientate themselves out of here. They will soon stumble upon some more enemies, hinting that all of this isn't quite over, but in general this part serves to slow down and letting the player adjust, forming a calm contrast to our upcoming climax. The final shootout, or the climax. I had a recurring issue with the typical door problem here, where players always ended up in the safety of the door frame, never actually entering the arena. For more information about this, please scroll down below to the issues section. But after a lot of testing, I ended up with the following solution. The players will drop down from a one-way and land in front of a car, obscuring their sight. A second later, the car will move, exposing the player who will have to immediately seek refuge to the left or right. After a few waves of enemies, players will climb atop the last obstacle, getting a final reveal before they jump to their buddy and they'll leave with the boat. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to get in contact, don't hesitate to email me at claudia.schubeck@gmail.com or otherwise reach out to me through my portfolio website. Thank you!